8:06 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. You can also text us at 680-680. My friends, we're now joined by Boston Herald columnist and blogger Holly Robichaud. She has an absolutely dynamite column. I mean dynamite. In today's Boston Herald. I urge all of you to check it out. Holly, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report, and how are you?
Oh, I'm pretty well, for considering that our country's being destroyed from within, but doing pretty well, all things considered. Well,
Holly, tell everybody what the point of your column is, and in particular, I want everybody to hear this. We had one of the great senators of the 19th century. He was along with John Calhoun and Henry Clay. It was called the Great Triumvirate. And it was Daniel Webster, senator from Massachusetts, an absolutely brilliant nationalist, a brilliant conservative, really the champion of New England for that part from the 1820s really until his death in the 1850s. What did he say about how America could be destroyed? Please tell everyone that quote. It's a very famous quote, and it is so apt for today.
It couldn't be more appropriate for today. There is no nation on earth powerful enough to accomplish our overthrow. Our destruction, should it come at all, will be from inattention of the people to the concerns of their government. And that's where we're at today. You know, it started off with the Obama administration taking and adding $7 trillion to our national debt, so much that, you know, each taxpayer out there owes over $150,000 to the federal government to pay down the national debt. I mean, we've wasted money. We continue to waste money, and when the debt reaches the number of the gross national product, we're going to be Greece, and we're I think only like $2 trillion away from that number, and nobody paid attention to that. And then we've watched the international degrading of our country with our president bowing overseas, not doing anything about Benghazi, withdrawing from Iraq, blowing everything that we had done over there, and it's just, it's one embarrassment after another for us. And then we watch that the President of the United States, we have a Constitution, and he completely disregards it. He writes laws that he cannot write, okay? He's governing by executive order and thinking like he's a dictator, and you can't do that. And nobody's standing up and saying anything. And now the last straw is opening up the borders, and we're being invaded. And we're not a country at this point when, Thomas Jefferson once said, if a nation without borders is no nation at all. And that's where we're at this point. And I think President Obama has done, his legacy will be to have destroyed the United States with what he's done.
So basically what you're saying in a nutshell is that we're almost fulfilling Daniel Webster's prophecy or fear that the only way America could ever be destroyed is from within, and is by inattention to what's happening with our government. And essentially Obama is accomplishing the destruction of America.
Right. I mean, people are more concerned about who's winning American Idol and, the great Amazing Race and things like that than paying attention to and asking why are we spending, why do we have $7 trillion more in debt? Why is this president allowed to change Obamacare with a stroke of a pen instead of going through Congress? Why are we completely being embarrassed on the international stage? To making ourselves look so weak, and why are our borders not protecting? This is a president who says the borders were safe and stuff, and he's allowing all these illegal immigrants to come into our nation and invade us. And here in the state of Massachusetts, it is extremely costly. One estimate is that it's $2 billion, in welfare benefits. I've got it about anywhere from $600 million to $1.2 billion each year. We're spending $93 million on mass health for illegal immigrants. We're spending $175 million for the health safety net for illegal immigrants. That doesn't cover the cost of education and everything else, and then there's the public safety factor. We just can't afford this, and I heard our governor say on Friday it's temporary. Well, the last time I heard the word temporary used, that was when they increased the income tax to 5.75, okay? And that was back in 1989. How's that working out? That didn't seem very temporary. The other time they said temporary were the tolls. Tolls on the turnpike never came down. There's no such thing as temporary. It's a permanent situation. And for our governor to then go and kind of get all choked up, why wasn't he choked up when the 63 people from New England compound died? Okay, it was his administration that failed to oversee that company, and all those people died. We have 134 children missing on his watch. We have more children dying from sudden infant syndrome deaths here in the state of Massachusetts that are under DCF care, okay, which should be a red flag, but he's not doing anything about it. I mean, this governor, for him to get out there and cry and act like, he cares about the children, no, this is all about him positioning himself to run for president, in a couple years. It's disgusting.
Holly, what do you make of Charlie Baker? Martha Coakley is backing Duvall. Steve Grossman is backing Duvall. I understand that. This Democratic gang, they stick together. They circle the wagons. But why would Charlie Baker, the alleged presumptive nominee for the Republican Party, I understand he's running off against Mark Fisher, but the pollsters keep telling us he's going to run away with it. Well, why would then the presumptive nominee on an issue in which it's running against the Democrats, 8-1, 9-1, 10-1, when even many Democrats up on Beacon Hill are saying Duvall is insane on this issue? Why would Charlie Baker essentially take the position that he agrees with Duvall?
I have no idea. I mean, this is a terrible decision he has made. You watched last week that special juveniles bill on Beacon Hill. They got fearful. It's the first time I've seen in 2 years where a bill comes out of Ways and Means, it's on the fast track, and then it doesn't get taken up. And it's because the Democrats are scared of this issue. Okay, and I can't believe that Charlie is not on the right side of this issue. I mean, every blue-collar worker that's out there, is scared that these illegal immigrants are going to take their jobs, okay? I don't understand. I mean, we are a nation of laws, and we need to stand by those laws. I know it seems like, they're saying, it's all about the children. Well, as you know, many of them are not children. I think it's far more cruel for this president of the United States to allow the borders to stay open and not say, wait a minute, we're not taking you in. They're the ones that are doing the disservice to the children here, not us. Okay, we should have a governor that's more concerned about taking care of the kids that are legally here than illegally here, and we don't have that.
Holly.
And we said it, during the Olga Roche thing that Charlie should cowboy up. I would agree once again. He needs to cowboy up on this and stand with our laws and fight this governor on this issue.
Holly, I got to ask you this point blank because you cover the Republicans extensively. In fact, your column is called, literally the name of the column is The Lone Republican Columnist. You're known as an analyst, you're known as a consultant, you're a columnist, a blogger. The Republican Party is your beat, you know it like the back of your hand. Why would Charlie Baker make such a self-destructive move like this? Bhe's almost not shooting himself in the foot, he's almost shooting himself in the head. Is it because he believes what he's saying? Or is it because he's been taken captive by these advisors, what I'm hearing, many of whom are Democrats, and they're just giving him lousy advice? In other words, what is the thinking behind Charlie Baker? Why would he do something like this?
Well, I hope it's just lousy advice, because lousy advice can be corrected fairly quickly. My fear is that 4 years ago, there was for some reason people said, Charlie was not a nice guy on the campaign trail. I thought he was a pretty nice guy on the campaign trail. I didn't see what they're talking about, that he wasn't a nice guy. Yeah, his commercials are hard hitting against opponents, but in the state of Massachusetts, that's the way you got to be. I don't know if this is fear of not being a nice guy or what it is, but it's not the right position to take, and he should reconsider, ask for a mulligan, and get out there with standing with the people, saying that this is not going to be allowed here in the state of Massachusetts. Because if we're the only state taking them in, we're going to get overwhelmed. we are going to get overwhelmed.
Holly, I'll throw out two explanations in my view, two reasons, and I want to get your feedback, and then I want to get the audience's feedback. I believe that Charlie Baker had two reasons for why he did what he did. I think, number one, he thinks it's going to help him woo and court the Hispanic vote. He thinks that somehow they're going to vote for him now because they think he's sympathetic to the issue of illegal immigration. And number two, I think at his core, he's a rhino. I believe that at his core, he is a moderate, establishment, northeastern, country club Republican who is in bed with the Chamber of Commerce. And he wants more cheap labor. He wants to help big business. He's basically Democrat light at his fundamental core. And that's why you're seeing him run such a vanilla campaign. He's basically me too, but I'll just do it a little bit better and a little cheaper and with less corruption than the Democrats. Am I wrong?
Well, I remember the Charlie Baker when he was Secretary of A&F for Governor Weld, and he was the guy that led the fight all the time on the fiscal issues. And, when he worked for the Weld administration, they cut taxes 41 times. They did everything right. I don't know why he's taking this stand at all. It flabbergasts me that he's on the wrong side of this, and I'm hoping that there'll be a change of policy within the Baker campaign, because I just think that this is wrong. Okay, I don't know if it's bad advice that he's getting, but it's just not the right way to be on this issue by far. Okay, for him to take I heard him repeat some of the Beacon Hill terms of it's temporary and stuff like that. He should know from dealing with Beacon Hill. That's just Beacon Hill talk that you cannot trust. It's a way to keep people placated and hoping that it's really not going to be as bad as it's going to be. I think he's got to take a much different stand on this issue. I'm glad he stood with us on the gas tax. He now needs to stand with us on the illegal immigration situation.
Holly, are we going to see you this Saturday at the rally?
You sure are.
Holly, I urge everybody, go and read her column today. I'm telling you, it is absolutely brilliant. I think it's one of the best columns she's ever written. How is Obama destroying this country from within? And she's nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. Holly, dynamite stuff, and thanks so much for coming on the Kuhner Report.
Anytime, my friend.
See you on Saturday. 617-266-6868 is the number. Charlie Baker doubled down on his comments again over the weekend, saying that, no, if the federal government will pick up the tab, and if they give a, quote, absolute guarantee that it'll be temporary, Massachusetts, like every other state in the union, should step up to the plate and accept the so-called 1,000 Central American migrants. He's doubling down. We talked about this a little bit on Friday. With now 48 hours having gone by, what do you make of Charlie Baker's decision, now that the passions have cooled off a little bit? In the cold light of day, are you more angry with Charlie? Are you less angry with Charlie? And did he stab the Republican base and the grassroots in the back? I say yes. What do you say, Boston? 820 on the great WRKO. Are you disappointed in Charlie? And will you vote for him? I want to hear from you. All of your calls next. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 823 here on the great WRKO, 617-266-6868. The lines are loaded. Vinny, you're up first. Thanks for holding. Go.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, Vinny.
To answer your question, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Charlie Baker is a rhino, and I agree with you when you say his position is basically he'll do it a little cheaper and a little better. Beyond that, he's a Democrat. And you also mentioned him insulting the base. Yes, I'm that base. Others in Kuhner country are that base. We're all across Massachusetts. He has insulted us time after time after time. And sooner or later, we are going to get rid of these rhino candidates of the Massachusetts Republican Party were going to come up with real conservatives. And yes, Shauna O'Connell, if she continues to grow as the conservative that she is, she will be the barometer via which Republican conservatism will be measured. She is the future.
Thank you so much for that call, Vinny. And take care, my friend.
Hey, thank you.
617-266-6868. Linda, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go.
Yes, good morning. There's two Lindas that call you, but I'm going to ask you for a little bit of a favor today.
Sure.
I would like to, as far as illegal immigrants, I'd like to throw the UN in with this package, and I'd like to get rid of the UN. And this might be a way for people to voice their feelings who feel like I do.
Oh, I'm with you, Linda. Well, the UN is meddling in our internal affairs. The UN is undermining our sovereignty, violating our sovereignty. They're basically now saying we have to take these so-called unaccompanied minors as refugees. They have no business getting involved in our internal affairs. So, no, it's a plan by the dear leader to erase our borders and create one world government. That's the ultimate goal here. We all know that. And that's why this rally is a Stop the Invasion rally. Is to defend our borders, and as Michael Savage puts it, our culture and our language. Mark, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
I totally agree with everything that you're saying today about Charlie Baker. I'm really believing that he's just a Democrat operative that's like infiltrating the Republican Party. And I really believe that Republicans need to we need to lean more towards libertarianism to liberate us from this, like, overwhelming left-wing takeover that's happening in this country.
Well, Mark, I got to tell you this. I think Charlie Baker, to me, this is his Michael Dukakis moment. You know Michael Dukakis in the tank? Which just, he was ahead. People don't know this. Just don't take my word for it. Look it up on the internet. Michael Dukakis in 1988 was actually ahead of George H.W. Bush by 17 points in the summer. Everybody thought he was going to run away with it. And then he ran that stupid ad of him in the tank with the helmet and everything. He looked like an absolute buffoon. And Bush hammered him and hammered him and hammered him. And then it went to the debates, and then he cleaned his clock. But the point is, and then Dukakis lost the election. This, to me, is Charlie Baker's Michael Dukakis in the tank moment. It shows you how disconnected he is from the base, from the grassroots, frankly, from the people of Massachusetts. Look, just stand back objectively. The Democrats don't want this. He would win with Republicans, he'd win with Democrats, he'd win with independents, he'd win with moderates, he'd win with conservatives, he'd win with liberals. I mean, this guy could clean house on... This one issue would propel him into the governor's office. He wouldn't just win, he'd win with 60% of the vote. And whenever Democrats or the Boston Globe, because the Globe is really going after the Republicans on this issue. So whenever the progressive Globe, the Marxist Boston Globe, or Martha Coakley or Steve Grossman or whoever says, oh, you're being uncompassionate. You're not showing respect for diversity and tolerance. All Charlie Baker has to say, the ultra-left-wing Democratic governor of Connecticut, Malloy, he doesn't want him. Martin O'Malley, the liberal Democrat governor of Maryland, he doesn't want him. Hey, don't blame me. Ultra-liberals in your own party don't want him. I'm just following what the Democrats are doing in Connecticut and Maryland and all over the country. That's it. That's all he has to say. Issue neutralized. In fact, he is now, I can't believe I'm saying this, on this issue, he is to the left. He is to the left of a radical progressive like Malloy in Connecticut. He's to the left of the uber left on this issue, Baker. And so what do you think the Democrats did? They got him in a vice grip now. Over the weekend, what did they say? Denounce the rest of your party, which has come out against this proposal to shelter these 1,000 Central American unaccompanied minors, these illegal immigrants. Come on, Charlie. If you really have the courage of your convictions, come on, Charlie. Go up to the podium, Charlie. Go in front of the mic, Charlie. Because your own party's against you on this issue. Denounce your own party, Charlie. He is so stupid, I swear to you, he may actually do it. He may go on a podium and denounce his own party. A complete political harry-carry. I have never seen, in my lifetime, I have never seen an act of political self-destruction as bad as this, with the exception of Howard Dean melting down the big cry in 2004, the scream. He had the state in the palm of his hand, and he flushed it down the toilet. Larry, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go.
Jeff, it's like baseball. 3 strikes and you're out. Baker's for gay marriage, Baker's for abortion, and now he's for the illegal invasion. Charlie, sit down, you're out.
Maybe it's time for Charlie to take up golfing full time. 8:30 on the great WRKO. Has Charlie Baker lost your vote? What do you make now, 48 hours later, of Charlie Baker's decision to support Mini-Me, bringing in an extra 1,000 illegal immigrants to our state? All of your calls next. 8:35 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. On sale right now at GetMyPerks.com is a trip for 2, to the Berkshires. This package includes a 2-night stay, lunch, dinner, and daily breakfast for a relaxing vacation. This deal's retail price of $902, wow, is on sale for 60% off at GetMyPerks.com for only $379. Purchase your trip to the Berkshires right now at GetMyPerks.com. Brought to you by Get My Perks and Boston's talk station, AM 680 WRKO. It's now 8:36 here on WRKO. Boy, I was thinking maybe I should go. I should buy one of them. Get one of these package deals and give it to a couple of those illegals and drive them up there to the Berkshires and go, there's Mini-Me's compound. Look at that, 77 acres. Look, as how he puts it, bucolic, pristine. The mansion, the villa. You can grow crops. You can grow food. You can pitch a tent. Look at the tennis courts, the swimming pools. You could have so much fun here. You can learn so much. You can play with toys. You guys can stay here forever. Because Mini-Me says, you have to take a stranger in. It says so in the Bible. Take a stranger in. Like in Egypt. Like the Jews in Egypt. So, wow, the Berkshires. That's what I would do. I'd buy those packages for the illegals and say, you know what? Maybe after 2 days you'll like it there so much you don't want to go to Camp Edwards on the Cape. You don't want to go to Chicopee. It's much nicer in the Berkshires. Trust me. 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Steve, you're up first. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Steve.
Jeff, listen, I believe, and I'm not sure, you'd have to ask Holly about this. I believe if we write in Sean O'Connor's name, because Charlie Baker has one more week for me. If he doesn't come out and start talking about this, I'm done with him. I'll write in Sean O'Connor. I'll just write her name in. And if that doesn't work, Jeff, we got to stop paying our property taxes because these people aren't listening to us. Obviously, they're not listening to us. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Steve. Look, I'm going to do something right now. All right? I'm going to now make or break Charlie Baker's run for the governor. If he's sincere, if he's honest, that he defends the taxpayers and the people, the hardworking people of this state, he will recant. So here's what I'm issuing now, an invitation and a challenge to Charlie Baker. Charlie, this Saturday, I am inviting you. I'm making a personal invitation to you to come with us. Stand with us at the steps of the State House. You can be one of the top speakers. We'll give you as much time as you want for you to say your piece. Will you appear and stand with us at the rally this Saturday, July 26th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the steps of the state capitol? I am personally asking Charlie Baker, I'm inviting Charlie Baker to show up at the rally, and if he's willing to renounce his position, I will forgive him and welcome him with open arms. You want to win the election, Charlie? You want to have Kuhner country and the people of Massachusetts in the palm of your hand to finally take out this criminal gang that's running this state into the ground? You now have the opportunity of a lifetime. All you got to do is say, mea culpa, I made a mistake. Say whatever you want, Charlie, honestly. I walked, I tripped over my feet, I fell down, I hit my head, I had temporary amnesia. I don't know, I lost my mind that day. I got hit in the head. And I wasn't right in the head. And these advisors stuck something in front of me, and I came back to my senses. I was a temporary amnesia. It happens. I fell down like Hillary Clinton. I fell down, and I just wasn't the same for a couple days. Whatever you want to say, Charlie, all you got to do is renounce your position and stand with us on Saturday. I'm giving you a personal invitation. You'll be one of our top headline speakers. You embrace this issue. You oppose the Democrats on illegal immigration, on this invasion. You win not only Republicans, you win not only independents, you win a huge slice of moderate conservative Democrats. Charlie, you win by 60 to 65% of the vote. Charlie, help me help you. We'll see if he shows up on Saturday. Richard, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Mr. Kuhner, good morning. Interesting subject. I think that it's really a shame what's going on. And I don't really know what the solution is, but I applaud you for putting this together, this rally, and what you're doing there to get people's attention on this really important issue. I don't know really what the solution is because we're up against so much disinformation and people not really paying attention to what's happening. I think that the charge of us conservatives not being compassionate is so specious. It's very difficult to fight against. You have people that saying that we're just, who don't like children and all this kind of thing. And I don't really know what the answer is. I mean, every time Massachusetts has Elizabeth Warren as its representative, has its governor. I mean, how do you get out from under this leftist shroud that's just covering everything over with this disinformation? How do you do that other than things like you're doing, and of course your show, which I enjoy very much?
Richard, honestly, you have to speak the truth.
Yeah,
and the way you speak, and the truth, honestly, I don't want to sound like a cliche, but the truth will set you and everyone else free. And what you just say is this. No, really, honestly, this is what you say. We love the children. We love our own children. We love our children in Lynn. We love our children in Chelsea. We love our homeless people. We love our vets. We love the children of our vets. We love our special needs kids in Jim Maselli's district. And our kids, we don't have enough for our own kids. And we've got poverty in this state that is frankly, and it's an embarrassment. We have kids that go hungry in this state. Most of them, if you really want to get technical about it, are mostly black children and Latino children. So no one should lecture us about compassionate. No one is more compassionate than the United States of America. But we are a nation of legal immigrants. We're not a nation of criminals. We're not.
Yeah, this is what I want you to say. I'm trying to get you to say that because it's ridiculous to think that we are not compassionate. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's angering, actually. And I really appreciate you saying what you just said. And I think everyone should take heart in that and absolutely have that as the core of their statements and thinking when dealing with these malevolent, leftist, malevolent people who support this president, who support Elizabeth Warren, who support your governor down there. It's just absolutely, it's just horrible. And thank you very much, Mr. Kuhner, for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that call, Richard. No, look, it's the biggest lie of all, that conservatives are somehow ruthless people or greedy people or selfish people. It's the opposite. Look, I don't want to beat a dead horse. But, look, let me be confessional with all of you, okay? God is my witness. For many, many years, Grace and I would do a lot of charity. And I don't like to talk about that because to me that's something you do privately. You don't do it to brag. You don't do it as a source of pride. Then it's very sinful. I feel then almost there'll be a curse that will come upon me and upon my wife and upon my family. But with these left-wingers throwing compassion in everyone's face over and over again, I said, forget it. We're in a war. And in a war, it's no holds barred. So you want to talk compassion? Because he's basically implying that we're Nazis. We're sending back the boat like they did in 1939, which, by the way, wasn't full of children. It had many adults, men and women, but let that go. When it comes to the left, all they do is lie. So somehow we're Nazis. We're like the Nazis, sending these kids to the gas ovens in Central America. If we say stop the invasion, don't dump them in our country. I adopted 2 children. It cost me $60,000 each. It blew out my savings. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I would give my life for those 2 kids. I'm a middle-class man. I'm not worth $60 million like Duvall. $60,000 for me is a lot of money. Never mind $60,000 twice. I have no savings because of this. Furthermore, we sponsor children in Africa. You want to be specific? They're black children because I feel sorry for them. And you want to be even more, if I want to be even more personal with you, one is a Christian, one is a Muslim. Because I don't care about their religious background, because I believe they're all children of God. Furthermore, do you know how many other conservatives I know that actively adopt? From Guatemala, from Honduras, from El Salvador. Here, before we adopted Ashton and Ava, you have no idea, I was like 48 hours away from going down to Colombia, to an orphanage in Colombia. And we were going to adopt 2 girls. And you want to be specific? You want to play the race card, mini-me? Fine. The 2 girls were actually very brown-skinned, and they were Indians. They were of the native indigenous Indian population of Colombia, which many people in Colombia don't want, because they want, frankly, whiter kids when they adopt. And it was only because of a bureaucratic snafu. They said, I'm over 40 years of age. They said because I'm over 40, they put every obstacle in the way so that we couldn't adopt. I was ready to sign, seal, and deliver 2 Colombian kids right into my home. And I'm the racist? All I do is charity on the weekends. Breast cancer, I'm there. Leukemia, I'm there. Cystic fibrosis, I'm there. Veterans, Brittany's just in my ear saying she can't believe how much charity work on. She's saying veterans, I'm there. By the way, 0. I get paid nothing. Because I believe I'm my brother's keeper. I don't have a 77-acre estate in the Berkshires, my second home, being a shyster lawyer, and then lecturing you how morally superior I am, and yet this guy does nothing. Now, I mean this in all honesty. You really care about these children. Look, if I was wealthy, may God strike me down if I'm lying, I would adopt many more kids. I would sponsor many more kids. I swear, if I was I'd sponsor half of Africa. I'd sponsor half of Latin America. We conservatives believe in charity, in helping our neighbor. But we don't believe in aiding and abetting criminality. And we don't believe in bankrupting our country and in depriving our own children, because it's going to be our own communities and our own children that are going to suffer from this. And these are not children. That's the biggest lie. They're mostly adults or teenagers. Many of them tied to gangs and the drug cartels. Are you insane to be bringing these people into our country? And when the facts are against you, when the arguments are against you, when logic is against you, when the truth is against you, when everything is against you, then what do? Think about this. The very same progressives who decry day and night ad nauseum separation of church and state, separation of church and state. Don't talk about abortion. Don't talk about same-sex marriage. Don't talk about family values. No, keep the church out of public policy. Honestly, I thought this guy he was like the second pope. He's got O'Malley, he's got ministers, he's got everybody behind him. He's quoting scripture. He's even saying, according to the teachings of my faith and my conscience, we have to embrace the children. It's for the children. Honestly, you're worth $60 million. You can adopt all of them. Adopt them. Sponsor them. You can build community centers for them. You can build homes for them. You can send food to them. You can put them on your 77 acres. You won't even lift a finger. You fraud, you. But you demonize us. You smear us. You libel us. Because we have to live with your decisions, the destructive consequences of your decisions. And what I find unbelievable, almost every state in the Union outside of the People's Republic of Massachusetts, Vermont, and Rhode Island had major rallies against this illegal invasion. Nobody else wants them. Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, nobody wants them. So we are now to become the dumping ground for the world? Because you want to bail out your fellow black liberal Democrat? We have to become a third world banana state? With diseases, my God, we haven't seen in decades? So potentially my son has to get tuberculosis for you to lecture me on how compassionate we're all supposed to be? Or God forbid scabies, or God forbid the swine flu? Or God forbid the Ebola virus? This man is not just an embarrassment. This man is not just a fraud. He's not just an arrogant coward who now hides behind the Bible, of all things, and hides behind Cardinal O'Malley, and hides behind Christian denominations. He's a traitor. He is betraying every single one of you. Every Democrat, every liberal, every conservative, every citizen of this state. Because you're going to be exposed to the diseases. Your kids. It's going to be your schools that go bankrupt. It's going to be your towns and cities that go bankrupt. Your pensions are going to go up in smoke. It's going to be your health care that gets affected. Your property taxes that are going to go through the roof. He's worth $60 million. Let him pay for it. 617-266-6868. And I swear to you, I'm the extremist. 8:59 on the great WRKO. Linda, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, thank you so much for taking my call. I want to make a couple of quick points.
Sure.
Point number one is I got a call on I think Saturday morning from Warren Tolman's office. He is running for Attorney General. It went to voicemail. I called the number back and spoke to the young man who called me. And I asked him what Warren Tolman's take was on all the illegal aliens coming into the state. And he said, well, I don't know. He said, let me go find out. So he came back, and literally he was reading off of a piece of paper, and it sounded like Deval Patrick had written the whole thing. So I said to him, I said, you know what? I said, right then and there, I said, you've lost my vote. I said, I'm not going to vote for him because he wants to bring everybody into this country. And I said it's going to cost every single Massachusetts taxpayer for decades down the road a ton of money. Second point I want to make is today in the Lynn item, Maria Carrasco, who sits on the school committee for Lynn, was disparaging Mayor Kennedy about her comments where she said the other day, enough is enough. Maria Carrasco says that all of these kids, we need to take everybody from third world countries into our country and into the state of Massachusetts because they come from poor circumstances and we need to fix their countries. Well, I'm going to say to Maria Carrasco, Deval Patrick, Barry Obama, and everybody else out there in Kuhner country who thinks this way, we are not the world's police. We don't need to fix everybody else's country. That's their problem. We need to fix people. We need to fix our country first. And when you talk about poor people in this country, I advise everybody, take a ride down to Arizona or up to South Dakota. Drive through the Navajo Reservation, the Hopi Reservation, and in South Dakota, the Pine Ridge Reservation where the Lakota Sioux live. Talk about a third world country right in America. That's third world country to me. Those people are the poorest of the poor, and they need our help as well as veterans coming back into our country from war. Homeless veterans need our help. We don't need to be fixing third world countries or taking their people in here. Last point I want to make, Jeff, I will see you at the rally Saturday, and to everybody who texted to you or emailed to you that they don't want to have to pay for parking, hey guys out in Kuhner country, I'm taking time off of work Saturday unpaid. I work 2 jobs. I need the paycheck, but you know what? My presence at the rally Saturday is more important than the money I'm going to get paid in my paycheck. So, Jeff, see you Saturday. I hope it's a great rally.
Linda, before I let you go, can I? Yeah. I want to. Absolutely brilliant. You nailed it. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
By the way, just very quickly, Brittany's saying, take the train, take the bus. What do you want to get off of, Brittany? What do you say? Get off of Park Street? Get off of Park Street. Park Street. And she said
Park Street to those of us who grew up in Michigan.
And yeah, so she's saying whatever you do, get down. But Linda, I want to urge you. I know you're very busy. You say you have 2 jobs. I want you to seriously consider running for public office.
You know something, friends of mine have asked me that before, and I honestly, Jeff, at my age, I'm 63. I'm exhausted. I really am. And but honestly, I might consider it here for locally for Lynn. I might consider that.
I'm telling you, you'd win.
Thank you.
You'd win. Just consider it, Linda, okay?
Thank you, Jeff.
And I'll back you 110%. God bless you. 9:02 here on the great WRKO. My friends, yesterday in Gaza, bloody Sunday. You're not going to believe what Jean-François Carey said, and you're not going to believe what the dear leader said. We've got all of that. Don't touch that dial.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly because I can't do wrong.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
Here on the great WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2, Hour 4 of the Kuhner Report, 617-266-6868. All right, my friends. Things are heating up in a major way in the Gaza Strip. Here is the latest over the weekend. Israel continued its military offensive. In fact, they expanded it. They were pounding the targets of Hamas from the air, from the sea, from land. They have also now moved in on a ground offensive. Yesterday is now being referred to as, quote, Bloody Sunday, unquote. Nearly 500 Palestinians allegedly were killed, 476 to be precise. The Israeli soldiers now, 13 died yesterday, bringing up the toll to 18. Hamas now claims that they have captured 2 Israeli soldiers. This is being denied by some Israeli government officials, so we don't know if that's true or not. Take it with a grain of salt. But when the announcement was made that Hamas, in fact, had captured 2 Israeli soldiers, there was dancing in the streets of Gaza. There was jubilation. I guess because they can see them get beheaded, get their throats slit from ear to ear, maybe put it up on a video, and that's a nice way for them to entertain themselves over dinner. I don't know, whatever it was, but they were very excited over the alleged capture of 2 Israelis. What is now clear is this. Israel is intensifying its all-out assault on Hamas. They are now smashing the underground tunnels that Hamas has been using to smuggle in weapons to conduct their terrorist campaign, their campaign of terror and murder and mayhem against the Jews of Israel. In fact, in one of those tunnels, several Hamas terrorists got through, and they managed to kill several Israelis. So they're still dismantling the tunnels. They are pounding military targets. They are going after key military installations and military bases. What they're also now finding out, which is what the world press is deliberately not ignoring, which is deliberately not telling you, especially the European press and the liberal media in this country, is that now they are finding many of these missiles and rockets that Hamas has been launching against Israel repeatedly for the last several years, day after day, week after week, month after month, indiscriminately targeting Israeli towns, Israeli villages, Israeli cities, killing Israeli civilians, picking them off a couple every week, is that these missiles are being housed in schools. They're being housed in apartment buildings. They're being placed in mosques. And they're allowing students, kids, to go to these schools. They're telling people in the apartment buildings not to leave their buildings. They're telling worshipers to stay in those mosques. In other words, they're using their own fellow civilians, many of them children, as human shields. And they believe the more of their own that they sacrifice, the more of their own that get killed, that Israel will lose the PR battle, and that world opinion will turn decisively against Israel, and that Hamas then can achieve its ultimate goal of wiping the Jewish state off the face of the earth. And so Israel is now intensifying its campaign. It is now looking to deliver a knockout blow. And just as Israel is now seriously degrading Hamas's ability to kill and destroy and target Israeli civilians, what does the dear leader say? When you've got a fighter on the ropes and you're moving in for the knockout blow, is the advice to back off, or is the advice to finish him? Well, instead of saying finish him, I swear to you, the dear leader, President Obama, personally called Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, not once, not twice, but 3 times over the weekend, telling him, hey, Bibi, hey, you gotta back off. You gotta back off. So now Obama is publicly calling for, quote, restraint on both sides. Both sides have to restrain themselves. And he's now calling for a comprehensive ceasefire. In other words, he wants to hold Israel back from delivering the decisive knockout blow against Hamas. And notice the moral equivalence. As Netanyahu put it very, very eloquently, the difference between the Israelis and Hamas is that Israel uses missiles to protect their children, while Hamas uses their children to protect their missiles. And yet Obama is basically saying both sides are to blame? And in particular, he's not leaning on Hamas, but he's leaning on Israel to stop its offensive just when it's on the verge of delivering a decisive blow and victory? And then there was this. Because deep down, we all know that Obama favors the Palestinians. We know that deep down, Obama sympathizes with the Muslim world. And I want you to think about this, okay? Israel occupies, I want you to listen very carefully, just to show you how outnumbered Israel is, how ridiculous the claims against Israel are. Israel occupies 1/6 of 1% of the land of the Middle East. That means the Muslims occupy over 99% of the land in the Middle East. Okay, Israel doesn't even have actually 99.5%. They occupy over 99.5% of the Middle East. Not even 99.5. Israel occupies 1/6 of 1%. And that's too much. It's too much. And so while Obama campaigned as a friend of Israel in 2008, as he campaigned as a friend of Israel in 2012, when he needed the votes and the fundraising and the money of liberal Jewish Americans and Jewish Democrats, in private, he is doing everything he can to tie the hands of Israel. And so, in a remarkable moment, Jean-François Carry, Pepe Le Pew, I guess his French is not needed on this one, just as he was about to do an interview on Fox News Sunday, got a call. The mic was on. It was a hot mic. And he, in fact, revealed, unintentionally, his real animus and opposition and dislike and distrust of Israel. Roll it, Brittany.
It's a hell of a pinpoint operation. It's a hell of a pinpoint operation.
Right. It's escalating significantly, and it just underscores the need for ceasefire.
We've got to get over there.
Yep.
Thank you, John. I think, John, we ought to go tonight. I think it's crazy to be sitting around.
It's a hell of a pinpoint operation? Now, notice, because Israel's been saying, look, we're not going to take over the Gaza Strip. It's a limited operation. It's a limited strike. We just want to dismantle Hamas's terrorist infrastructure and prevent them from launching any more missile and rocket attacks upon Israel, at least for the next 5, 10, 12 years. Give us a breathing space. And you notice right away, look at his reaction. That's a hell of a pinpoint. That's a hell of a pinpoint operation. It's a hell of a pinpoint operation. In fact, play it again. Roll it, Brittany.
It's a hell of a pinpoint operation. It's a hell of a pinpoint operation.
Right. It's escalating significantly, and it just underscores the need for ceasefire.
We've got to get over there.
Yep.
Thank you, John. I think, John, we ought to go tonight. I think it's crazy to be sitting around.
Even the Washington Post, the very liberal Washington Post, said that Kerry's remarks, his blunt remarks on a hot mic, were clearly a condemnation of Israel's tactics. He's basically saying, oh my God, there are too many Palestinians dying. I thought this thing was going to be, 1 or 2 days of pinprick bombing and maybe a few people get killed and it's in and out and you make a statement and, like the dear leader would do, something symbolic. But this guy, Netanyahu, he's actually serious. He actually puts Israel's interests first. Like Putin, who wants to put Russia's interests first. He's serious. He actually wants to finish this thing. He actually wants to break Hamas's back. He actually wants to deter the Muslims from all around him, the other Muslim nations, from standing up and slaughtering Israel. Oh my God, we can't have that. John, we got to get on the plane. We got to get on the plane. So where's Jean-Francois today? I kid you not. He's in Cairo. What's he doing in Cairo? He's meeting with Egyptian leaders to try to put as much pressure on Israel, on the Jews, on the only democracy in the region, on our closest ally, to basically now have a ceasefire and prevent Israel from delivering a knockout decisive victory. With friends like this, who needs enemies? If I'm sitting around in Israel, I'm thinking, geez, and those supposed to be our friends, our allies? Why would you want to prevent Israel from finally delivering a death blow to Hamas? Why would you want to do that? It's absolutely incredible. And the other thing I find amazing is if you watch the local news, I'm watching a bit of the local news over the weekend, whether it be Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 7, it's all the same. We have to interview local Palestinians to get their perspective on the, quote, offensive in Gaza. How come you never talk to local Jews? How come you're always so interested in the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian reaction? How come you never ask local Jews, what is it like to have family and friends back in Israel where they're getting bombed and rocketed and attacked on a daily basis? What it's like to have missiles flying in overhead every day, every week. They don't even take time off for Ramadan. It's 365 days of the year. It doesn't matter. Jewish New Year, Yom Kippur, it doesn't matter. Those rockets keep falling. The constant sympathy for the criminals over the victims. The constant sympathy for the terrorists against those that want to defend against terror. The constant sympathy for our mortal enemies. Radical Islamists who want to wage a jihad against the West, against our closest friend and ally in the Middle East, Israel. That tells you everything you need to know. And so to all the liberal Jews out there, I told you in 2008, and I told you in 2012, if he's willing to betray his own people over something as fundamental and important as health care, he'll betray you. And now Israel, to all the Israelis out there, now you know what it's like to be an American. Now you know what it's like to have a president with a target on your back. 617-266-6868 is the number. What do you make of the dear leader's response calling for an immediate ceasefire and mutual restraint on both sides? What do you make of Jean-Francois's hot mic comment? I want to hear from you, Boston. 617-266-6868. All of your calls. Next.
We've got to get over there.
925 on the great WRKO. Jean-Francois, a.k.a. Pep, Secretary of State John Kerry, obviously not happy with Israel's offensive, Israel's strikes in Gaza. He's angry. Too many Palestinians are dying. It doesn't look good on the TV screens. Protests all across Europe. He's not happy. And so he had to get down to Egypt right away to put as much pressure on Israel. My friends, breaking news. Apparently there was a Gaza hospital has been hit in a fatal Israeli attack. They say at least 4 are killed on the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. By the way, that's an Islamist hospital, but let that go. 4 killed in the attack. Apparently there are pictures of rockets being fired from that hospital just last week. They were firing rockets from the hospital all of last week. From the Wafa hospital in the Gaza neighborhood of Shujaiya. And so I guess they had some more rockets, some more Islamist fighters there, Hamas fighters. The hospital was targeted. So far, 4 are dead, 16 are wounded. Hamas and the UN are now calling this a potential war crime. 617-266-6868. That's the strategy. Demonize Israel in the eyes of the international community to tilt world opinion against them. Sacrifice as many of your own as you need to. As many Palestinians as possible, but make Israel look bad at all costs. Maybe he speaks Hebrew. I don't know. Jean-Francois is very... Shalom. Mazel tov. You see, he's fluent in Hebrew as well. He's perfect for this situation. Russ, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
First of all, Jeff, a ceasefire gives the enemy time to regroup, resupply, and fight another day. You know, let's face it, Hamas subsidizes the Palestinians for one reason and one reason only, so they can have a platform to kill Israelis. Israel is justified in wiping out Hamas. And you know what really got me, and I don't really try not to listen to the president because he's full of BS all the time. You know, during the press conference, he did not single out Hamas as the problem. And as far as I'm concerned, Obama could care less about dead Jews. And the liberal Jews in the U.S., I hope they get the message once and for all.
Very well said, Russ. Thank you for that call. Andrew, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Andrew?
I'm all right. I got to compose my thoughts. I just saw something that really ticked me off. On Route 2, on one of the overpasses in Belmont, got a couple knuckleheads with a sign saying, boycott Israel. What the hell is wrong with the people in this state? I mean, for God's sakes, Israel is just trying to protect itself, and, you know, you got these liberal knuckleheads that, you know, are blaming Israel for this. I mean, they're just, if somebody was firing missiles into Boston, you don't think we would do something about it?
Bingo. Bingo. Mike, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on the Kuhner Report. Go ahead, Mike.
Jeff, if the Jews had the firepower and the strength that they show now against a mortal enemy in 1939, there would be no such thing as a Holocaust.
Very well said, Mike. Bill, you're up next. I got about a minute. Go.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Bill.
You know, Jeff, I can't believe that you are condoning Israel firing missiles into a hospital. I mean, I just think that is just outrageous.
Why? If they're using that hospital as a base to target Jews and fire missiles and rockets?
In a hospital? Being the Israelis don't want any peace. They don't want any two-state solution. They just,
well, let me ask you this. Let me just cut you, because it's not true. What you're saying is completely not true. So let me just cut you off right there. Let me ask you this. In 2000, at Camp David, then Prime Minister Ehud Barak met with Yasser Arafat. What did he offer Arafat at Camp David?
There's been no two-state solution.
Whoa. What did Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, make an official offer? It was overseen by your Democratic President, Bill Clinton. What did he offer Yasser Arafat?
They didn't make a deal.
He offered Yasser Arafat 98% of the West Bank and Gaza, including East Jerusalem as the capital of a Palestinian state. He gave them more in that deal than the Irish got in 1922 with Michael Collins and even Eamon de Valera from the British. They only got a free state with the North cut off completely. And the Irish, hold on, the Irish accepted that offer as a building block to get their republic. The Palestinians were giving a full independent state, 98% of the West Bank and Gaza, East Jerusalem as the capital. And what did Arafat say, genius?
Hey, Netanyahu.
What did Yasser Arafat say when offered a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital? What did he say?
He doesn't trust them because they wouldn't give back anything.
They gave him 98%. It would be overseen by the United States and the United Nations. What did Yasser Arafat say?
Anytime Israel gets
He said no. Bye. 617. You see how they have to lie? The Palestinians were offered a full state. Not only did Arafat say no, he didn't even make a counter deal, a counter offer. The Israelis have wanted peace for decades. Every time they make an offer, the Palestinians flip them the bird. Now they're to be blamed when they want to defend fellow Jews? What is it, Bill? You like killing Jews? That gets your juices flowing? 9:32 on the great WRKO. More with your calls after this short news break. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report. 9:38 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. You know what I find incredible is that at Harvard University or Brandeis or any of these other MIT, many of these other institutions here in Boston, you see all of these leftists and liberals picketing and protesting against Israel. And what has now happened in my lifetime, remarkably, it's been about 20, 25 years, is you are seeing this anti-Semitism grow on the left, where they will side with Islamist butchers, terrorists, mass murderers, against the people and state of Israel. Even though, objectively, if you just stand back objectively, which country protects the rights of women in the Middle East? Israel. Which is the only country in the Middle East where women are given full political, social, economic, cultural equality with men? Israel. What is the only country in the Middle East where you have full gay rights for homosexuals, lesbians, bisexuals, whatever? Israel. What is the country that is most tolerant of religious minorities, whether they be Christians, Muslims, Israel? And so here you have a state of 5.5 million Israeli Jews. There are also about 1.5 million Arabs. Nobody mentions that, who, by the way, are the best treated minority in all of the Middle East. The Palestinians who actually live in Israel proper are treated better than they are in any other Muslim country, including in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. What is the only country where you can worship freely in a synagogue, in a church, or in a mosque? Israel. And so if you're pro-women's rights, if you're pro-tolerance, if you're pro-diversity, if you're pro-gay rights, you should stand with Israel. And my friends, here is the sad truth. And this is something now that many people in this state and in this country need to come to terms with. And I'm speaking in particular to the Jews, to Jewish Americans. There is an unholy alliance between liberals and radical Islamists. Because deep down, they hate America. They hate its founding, they hate its history, they hate its constitution. And deep down, they hate Israel. And they hate its founding and its mission and its purpose to be a homeland for the persecuted Jews of the world. And the more Muslims that we bring in, what is going to happen here is what's happening now in Europe, where a significant chunk of the Muslim population has become so radicalized, it is teeming with anti-Semitism. You think I'm making this up? Okay, check this out. The biggest news story in almost every major European newspaper all over Europe this weekend was, yes, the Israeli offensive in Gaza. But the bigger story was the protest that it sparked in London, in Paris, in cities all across France, in Germany, in Berlin, in Rome. You can go everywhere, but in particular in France. And so literally thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters, many of them Muslims, recent immigrants who have poured into France from North Africa and the Middle East, marched in Paris, marched and rampaged in cities all across France. They recently attacked several synagogues. Several rabbis were viciously beaten. The French government, fearing an intifada, said, we don't want any more of these protests. They are getting too violent and out of control, so they imposed a ban. The radical left demanded that the ban be lifted and ignored. And in particular, led by the left-wing New Anti-Capitalist Party, as well as other liberal left-wing groups in France, the Muslims of France rampaged across Paris. They fought with police. They destroyed cars. They destroyed shop windows. Tear gas was being thrown. There was damage everywhere. 38 protesters were arrested. And it looks like Gaza. It's as if Paris has been turned into Paristan. And what all of them are chanting is this, and I want you to think about this. What the hell does France have to do with the Gaza Strip? What does London have to do with the Gaza Strip? Thousands were protesting in London. What does this have to do with Gaza? Quote, here is what all of them said with one voice. Quote, we must show that as Muslims we are all united, unquote. An attack on one Muslim anywhere is an attack upon all of us. And so literally, Paris has turned into a hellhole. You have to see pictures, cars overturned, buildings destroyed, things set on fire, massive fights and clashes with the police. Paris is burning. France is burning. France has been turned into a massive intifada. They need this. England needs this. Germany needs this. God forbid we need this in this country. What they're saying is that their Muslim religious identity trumps any other one. Their loyalty to France, their loyalty to their home country, they are Muslims first. And if they have to rampage and destroy, they will. Now, I ask you, how is peaceful coexistence possible? By letting so many of these radicalized Muslims into our borders. My friends, we are committing national suicide. We are being destroyed from within. Just ask the French. 617-266-6868 is the number. Arthur, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. As a Jewish person who lost his whole family in the Holocaust, except for my mother and father who survived the concentration camp in the Ukraine, the Jews have never learned their lesson. And in this country, the Jews hate Israel. For whatever reason, God only knows. But they never support Israel, and they help and are nice to their enemies. And it goes on and on. They never learn, and the Republicans never once do they ever speak without the total support for Israel, and the Democrats are the total opposite, yet the Democrats and the liberal press are anti-Semitic and against Israel.
Liberalism is a mental disorder. I mean, really, I think you want to understand why so many Jewish Americans vote for the Democratic Party? I swear to you, liberalism is a mental disorder. It warps your mind. So you're willing to see family members, relatives, and friends get wiped out because somehow you think that makes you tolerant? Has the Holocaust taught you nothing? Allah, you see, then it was Deutschland, Deutschland, Deutschland. That was the call to wipe out the Jews. Now it's Allah, 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 Allah. Bob, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
A couple of things. One is you really need to listen to a comedian by the name of Evan Sayet. If you really want to get into the liberal mantra and the liberal mind and understand where it came from and why it is to this day, he does an excellent job. He did a couple of speeches with the Heritage Foundation. It is absolutely dead on straight. You should play it on the air if you can. Wonderful lectures.
Bob, how do you spell his last name?
Sayet. He's a Jewish guy, Jewish comedian. Sayet. Evan Sayet.
Evan Sayet. Okay, I'll definitely look him up.
On YouTube. On the YouTube, you can get them. The other point I would make is the reason that Germany and Japan have been peaceful these last 60 some odd years, 70 years, is that essentially all of the people who wanted to give their lives for the Führer or the Emperor, who were brainwashed into that way of thinking, were given their wish. And the people in Gaza, the Palestinians, are essentially a brainwashed sect. It's a cult. And there really is no convincing them one way or the other. There's no...
Bob, there's no reasoning with them. And so this is what I say. You want to die for Allah? No problem. We can arrange that. A first class ticket straight to paradise. Deborah, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I'm a huge fan, and I had to call into this conversation.
Sure.
I think Israel needs to do what they need to do, because the truth is they're always going to be on the wrong side of public opinion. And Obama says that we should have restraint, but if they're using their people to shield the missiles, there will never be peace as long as they want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And that's really the truth. And what even makes me more crazy is seeing Obama stickers written in Hebrew. I just don't understand it. It makes me absolutely insane to see that, because how could you be a Jew and support Obama? Because he doesn't support the Jews, and it's just insanity in my opinion.
Deborah, honestly, I think after what's going on now in Gaza, I think you're going to see those stickers start coming off. Or they're self-hating Jews. Take your pick. 617-266-6868, 950 on the great WRKO. More with your calls. Don't touch that dial. 9:55 here on the great WRKO. Joshua, you're up next. Thanks for holding, and go ahead.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome, sir.
And I'm glad you're speaking truth to power with regards to what's going on in the Middle East. You know, I faced a similar situation when I was in college at Bentley University. There was an Arab professor speaking on and on. He was really going after Israel. Then he asked the audience, so may I ask, what is the difference between Iraq and Israel? I jumped up, opened my mouth and yelled out, Israel is a democracy, you know? I mean, it's like Israel for years and years and years, they've done everything they could to offer peace to the Arabs, but the reality is the Arabs, they just want to take pieces of Israel to the point where they end up taking over Israel and replacing Israel with their own Arab state. You know, they're not interested in peace. They're not interested in coexistence.
Joshua, look, you're 110% right. But what most people don't understand is, if you look at it from the Muslim point of view, the Muslim Arab point of view, how can it be any other way? The Jews are infidels. They're non-Muslims. Their very existence, according to the Muslims, if you read the Quran, is an insult to Allah and to God. That's why they believe Christians and Jews are descended from monkeys and pigs. That's why they say, look, they don't have the same value as people. They're not people. So you want to kill them, kill them. But how can you have these infidels here in the land of the Middle East? And that's why they want to wipe them off the face of the earth. And that's why Israel will never enjoy peace until we make it clear to the Muslim world that Israel is here to stay forever. Israel now, Israel forever. That's what Obama should be telling the Muslims of the Middle East, and he never will. Because deep down, I believe he sympathizes with them. Like many leftists, if Israel was just gone, then suddenly we'd have peace in the Middle East. That's anti-Semitism. Comrade John, how you are, comrade?
See, I say, it's morning in America, Jeff. Oh, wait a minute, there isn't in America anymore. Okay.
Bruce, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go ahead, Bruce.
Jeff, everything you said in the last hour is 100% correct. The thing that I'm interested in is, what are the leaders of the party that put Obama in office, the Republican branch of the Republican Party? What are the leaders saying? Why is there total silence? Tell me about that.
Oh, I'm with you. It's unbelievable. There's me, there's Howie, there's Rush. I mean, it's talk radio and Sarah Palin, and that's it. Frank, you're up next. Thanks for holding. I got a minute. Go, Frank.
Hi, how you doing, Jeff?
I'm good.
Well, what they ought to do is they ought to take a bunch of these guys
You know, the boats and the ships and everything else that we take the Mexicans in with? Divert them right over to Saudi Arabia with all of these liberal know-it-alls, Bill at the helm, and then say to them, listen, you know, you guys have got it all right, so we're gonna go by your example. You start up your private state and show the Arabs how you want it run and how you're gonna do it.
They deport them, Frank. You see? They would do what we can't do. My friends, I gotta go. You've been listening to Boston's Bulldozer, and remember, together, we're beating liberals one day at a time.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly because I can't do wrong.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.